you need to do some more customizable stuff like adding post and pre-scripts, post-flight scripts and all that wonderful stuff, you can do that in Iceberg and then make the package. Or it can make a DMG file with all your file structures that it found in there, if you're familiar with the older style way of making disk images for Casper and other systems that use DMG files. It also creates an uninstaller script, which is a package with no payload, and it just creates an uninstaller script, which just basically is a list of the files that get installed, and it removes them. That's basically all it does. And this is also good for 90% of your packages that are very simplistic, where all you need is just to get files put on a machine. You know, you don't need to do anything fancy with pre-flight, post-flight scripts, pre-upgrade, pre-install, post-upgrade, post-install, that wonderful stuff. That is where the Iceberg piece comes in, because then you can use Iceberg to really nail the package down exactly the way you want it. Next slide, please. So here is some screenshots of how InstallEase works. The first, hold on, I'm sorry, one second. All right, the first slide that you see in the background is the starting screen, where you can choose whether you want to make a automatic snapshot package, or whether you want to manually make your package, or whether you want to go and create an uninstaller package from an existing installer package, I may add. When you make either an automatic or manual package, you have an option to make an uninstaller package from that material. But this allows you to use an existing package and make an uninstaller for it. And then you also see that during the automatic snapshot, you have a exclusions list, which is all the typical files that people, don't know to exclude when they make a package if you're just starting out. So this allows you to exclude all these types of files so that you can not have a bunch of miscellaneous stuff like the DS store files and stuff like that in your packages. Next slide, please. The next you'll see is the intro snapshot being made. I'm taking a snapshot of the entire disk Macintosh HD, and you'll see it's going through there. And then what you do is after you do the initial snapshot, you install your software that you want to install. You tweak the preference files that you want to tweak, and you do everything you need to do, and then you run InstallEase again, and you take a second snapshot, and then you get this screen that shows you what it found. And you'll see here what I did was install NeoOffice, and you'll see that in the applications folder is the NeoOffice, and in the library are receipts, and in the current user directory or something and whatnot, and here it is. And you can also go through and change on each folder or file the individual permissions for those files. Next slide, please. And then once you have all the actual information nailed down that you want to make your package of, you have the option of what type of package to make. Do I want to make an Apple installer? Do I want to make an uninstaller? Do I want to make an Iceberg project, or do I want to make a disk image? And then you just click on Create, and off it goes. Sometimes Apple's installer package has some issues with certain types of files. In my personal experience, it has been Dreamweaver style, not Dreamweaver, I'm sorry, Macromedia style software that uses the Macromedia application. So what that happens is that what I do is I uncheck the Apple installer and I just make an Iceberg project, because Iceberg usually gets me where the Apple package maker won't. And, that's all trial and error. You're going to come across that stuff as you go. Next slide, please. As far as software distribution goes, we use it to push out Apple packages that I've made. I've been told that it also supports installer Vise. It's one of the few packages which actually support pushing out installer Vise installers. I personally have not done that. I do my own packages, so that's what I use. You can use modular staging servers. So if you have buildings with lower bandwidth connections, you can use a file server that is in that building as a staging server, so that when you are pushing out a package going to machines in that building, they'll pull it off the local server as opposed to your main software distribution server. And the nice thing about that is that basically all you need to do is have the LANrev client installed on that server and go into software distribution and say, hey, this is a staging server. And then when you're done, you can say, hey, this is no longer a staging server. So it also allows you to create basically staging servers from any machine on your network if you have a high-volume push that you need to do. You can actually just take computers that are sitting on your network and temporarily make them staging servers and push out your big project, and when it's done, take that function away. You can create groups or pull over existing smart groups. You can define which staging servers should push software to those groups. You can create rules for the packages like Val showed you. You can have pre-existing conditions like OS revisions, previous package installs, etc. And you have full control over how and when packages are available to be delivered. The nice thing is we've had a couple computers that we have a computer lab, and we had a program that needed the Python software installed. And the technician said, hey, well, since that software was originally installed, I re-imaged those computers, and I went back and checked, and sure enough, when those computers were re-imaged, they automatically contacted back to the software distribution and said, hey, I need this software, and it got pushed back out to them. So that was very nice. And there's also a feature that whenever you install a new version of LANrev, the update gets pushed out automatically to all Macs and all Windows machines. So you'll see that in a second. Next slide, please. This is a shot of the Python package information screen that I did, and you'll see the relevant information in there, where it gets installed, what restrictions there are, when it can get installed, all that wonderful stuff. And you'll see that it goes to a group of computers that I have defined, which is our one lab classroom at the bottom. So you can push out these packages to select groups or to all Macs or, to however you want to define it. Next slide, please. You'll also see that this is the LANrev agent, and you'll see that it goes to all Macs, and you'll take a look at the information there. And that means that when you update LANrev, that over a course of time, as computers are on the network, they'll automatically get the latest agent, if you have this feature turned on, which I do. You can also see here my staging servers. I only have one server. My distribution groups, I have a couple distribution groups in there. You can also see that you have full viewing of installation status, so you can see currently how your installations are progressing. You can see whether they failed or whether for some reason they were deferred or whether they've successfully been installed. And if you give the user permission to refuse a package, you'll see that as well. Next slide, please. As far as getting the LANrev on our computers, like I said, we started in the middle of the school year. Obviously, if you're going to re-image computers, that's the best time. But what you can do is you can actually pre-configure a package with all the options. So you take their package, and there's a plist file inside that you hand do all the configuration. And then that package can be installed by hand. It can be pushed out via ARD. It can be installed as part of your imaging workflow like I do. And then you also have the Agent Deployment Center, which allows you to do stuff like use an SSH admin account and scan your network for machines and then attempt to install the package using your SSH admin account or your local admin account for Windows. So what I did was, knowing that I was going to do this at some point this year, I made sure that our image had a SSH enabled for our local administrative account. So what I did was, once I put the servers in, I just had them start scanning our subnets, and as it found computers, it just started contacting them via SSH and started installing the client. And it was that simple, and that's how I've got more than half of our computers in the system. As we got closer to the end of the school year, I kind of gave up on that, and they're going to be totally re-imaged anyway during the summer, so that's fine. So you can use a predefined SSH admin account or local admin account for Windows, and you can scan multiple IP subnets to find the clients and do an install or an update. Next slide, please. And the next slide here goes to ask the question about Active Directory. We are a complete Microsoft shop as far as our back end goes, and we are totally based on Active Directory. So yes, in the servers, you configure for an Active Directory group of who your administrators are coming from. And from that Active Directory group of users, you can pull users in, and you can assign them the tasks in the admin center.
You can also do things like take these admins that you create and you can group machines so that a technician for one building can only